Growing up in America, Eddie lived the American dream. He achieved it all before the age of 30. Money, cars, women. But beneath the surface, something didn't feel right. After achieving everything he ever desired, Eddie turned his back and walked away from it all and took his life in a whole new direction. Let us take you on his journey. Eddie was born in Buffalo, New York, to parents who had immigrated from Yugoslavia in the early 1970s. Soon after Eddie's birth, Eddie's father decided to move to Chicago in search of a better job.
My wife, she was working. I was working. I was working also nighttime.
During the day, on the weekend, usually his father comes late from that kind of a work. A kid was many times left on his own. There was some vacuum there, and he just filled it up with undesirable friends and with undesirable things.
I used to also took him to nightclub where I sing, or playing pool or during the daytime when I'm free. That time I don't know really that how to raise a child.
We were more consumed with what normal kids are consumed with, just having a good time. Really just playing video games, getting out there on the streets and trying to find something exciting, an adrenaline rush.
Growing up as a youth, I had a lot of, we had a lot of maybe confusion.
From his early years, Eddie always found himself in trouble.
I wasn't the oldest one of the bunch, but I was willing always to go a step further. I would sometimes go and defend those who I thought to be really my brothers and those who are close to me. I was the one to step up and make sure that nobody was going to mess with my brothers, my friends.
I remember one time, and they catch him and some other his friend, and he was a kind of leader.
Growing up, he was, I would say in his early years, was, not too far from trouble. But he was always at the same time like a concerning brother, even though he was involved in a lot of trouble. He still would make sure that, me being younger would not, make those same mistakes he made.
Usually children form by their 15th year, and once it's a little bit harder to form them later. So during those 15 years, definitely there was some lack of proper upbringing. Children are like a garden. You water the garden, you weed the garden, regularly, and you miss it 1 week, and the garden is overtaken by the weeds.
In a society that demanded both parents to work, children would be the ones most affected.
Kids sometimes need more attention if they don't get it at home, because the parents are busy working, and I know his parents were working a lot, and then he seems to me he needed more time to be spent with him by his parents.
Society taught Eddie to hone a tough idea of manhood.
In elementary school, you would get in fights and you have one group of kids fighting the other group of kids. So now you pick up on this, and that's that like street mentality.
There was not knowing the truth, There was just believing whatever he sees on TV or reads in the papers. It was my impression that's how he saw the world,
In Chicago, going to high school here, you kind of feel like to prove your strength and to be a ladies' man, to chase women. That's what most youth are talking about, and that's what your level of status is.
He started having his problems, disobedience towards parents, gang activity, fights. It was He was, kind of disturbed. Things were going out of the control,
One fight here, another fight there, trying to get this person's attention. School really was secondary. It was getting in class just to wait for the bell to ring, looking up at the time. Oh man, this is dragging on. I hope this will end soon so I can go and try to hook up with this person or this crowd, cut class.
They are being bombarded by from all sides by things which are immoral, which are not good, which are not right. On the TV, on the internet, on the street, newspapers. There is so much bad things and negativity that children is soaking up all those bad influences from outside. If the parent doesn't take time to neutralize those, the children don't have a way of learning what is good, what is bad. They just take the easy way and pick up whatever is thrown at them.
As we learn, birds of a feather flock together. So I was going around along with the bad company. I end up getting what they call violated in. They put you up, basically beat you up for about a couple minutes, and now afterwards you're in. You've taken the beating, and now you're part of that clique, that organization, that gang, street gang.
The false sense of independence brainwashed Eddie into living a rough and tough gang life.
Because the whole gang thing, the whole perception here is that this is now my family. And now I felt like I belonged to something. I belonged to this group. I belonged to what I thought now was my family, which I had my family at home who really cared about me, and they wanted what's best for me. Not with these people. They didn't care about me. Misery loves company. So I'm going through life, running away from home, and my mother, she was going out of her mind trying to find me, and she drove up one time into the school where we would hang out, and we're in this little courtyard, and she drives up. This is the only place where like the police would drive up, but she drove up in here, and we thought it was the police. So now I'm running from the police, I'm running from my parents, I'm running here, running there, I'm running everywhere, but mainly I'm running the wrong way.
Gang life took hold of Eddie and forced him to travel a negative and destructive path.
Going from one high school to the next, I had to leave that Lincoln Park because it was an opposing gang. So now, if they find out that I'm in this gang, I mean, that's the whole school is associated with that gang. So I got to get out of that school. Now, I end up getting transferred to another school. And I remember one time when I was in the cafeteria, and this gangbanger of the opposite gang, he came and he threw down my gang sign. So that was the wrong thing to do. And then this is something silly that you're ready to kill the person over some stupid hand gesture. So he does that, and I throw his down. He ends up pulling a knife. I end up pulling some mace. I spray him, and from there, all the different security guards came at the school. We get taken in to the disciplinary office, and I'm expelled. Finally, I started figuring out that these people didn't care about me. These gangbangers, when you're sitting in a jail cell and they catch you for some kind of stupid crime, some of these people, the police show you who the head guys are, and they've been arrested for murder and all sorts of drug trafficking. These are the higher ones that are basically pimping the young guys. I said, I'm sitting in a jail cell, and where are they at? Nobody's coming to get me. They don't care about me. And am I going to end up with a mugshot like this? And am I going to end up tomorrow killing somebody? Because that's what it's heading to. I'm either going to get killed, or I'm going to kill somebody. I'm going to end up in jail, destroy my life. I have a good family. It's not worth it. I ended up going to Germany. I thought this would be a good break.
He disappeared, He took off. We went to different places in Chicago where we thought he could be, to find him, and we couldn't find him that day.
My brother-in-law from Germany, I have a sister in Germany, he called us, he says, are you okay? You let Eddie come over here? He says, no.
After spending time in Germany, Eddie realized his life was not leading anywhere. He finally returned to Chicago, only this time it was not to the gangs. Big cash money was on Eddie's mind. How to make money.
So the direction I'm getting from is from movies, from actors, from the gangsters on the big screen, and I can relate to them. You know, everyone needs a role model, and I thought that these, the rappers, the musicians, the actors, I'm starting to see other people imitate them, so I feel, you know what, I can portray this role quite well.
He gradually worked his way up in the club industry, but money or not, it still brought trouble.
One night, policeman called me from the station. Say, you Eddie's father? Yes. Come on, get him from the station. He's locked up. I went over there, and one also individual walking from the station, all of blood, everything. You know, I just went straight to the desk. You know, I was worried for what happened with Eddie. And this officer, he says, "You Eddie's father?" Yes. Did you see this? The person just walked out. That's what your son done to him.
Fearing that Eddie would get into deeper trouble or worse, his father convinced Eddie to enlist with him in the U.S. Army as a civil interpreter in war-torn Bosnia.
After I had been in Bosnia working with the military for some time, I hooked up with an individual that I inspired to be like. When you watch some of the other Goodfellas and you hear about Al Capone, this individual was the closest resemblance to those people, and I wanted to be the top of that lifestyle. And he took great care of me. He took me into his home, his many homes. He showed me around and said, pick one. And I saw the lifestyle. He had that country. Basically, it was his. And he was someone who you didn't want to cross. And he was respected. And I took to him, and we were very close.
Eddie returned to Chicago from Bosnia with a new understanding of the world.
And the same way he demanded respect and loyalty, this is something that I demanded. And if I didn't get, then I took. And I put fear in people the same way he was doing.
Influenced by his father's work in the club industry, Eddie naturally began to seek out that path.
We worked for one of the largest promoters in Chicago. Eddie worked for him and I worked for him as well. Eddie was one of the guys, one of the enforcers. He used to run around, basically just beat up people. That was really Eddie's nature and his essence. Eddie was also a ladies' man. Eddie brought in a lot of the ladies. At any given moment, he could have 7 to 8 women that are running around the club looking for him.
While all of this was happening, Eddie, who loved to fight, found a new form of release in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
I had did some boxing as a teen, and from there I had tried different martial arts. What I really got fascinated with was the rationale and logic that hit me when I saw Gracie Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that really when a 130 pound guy around that, he put me, it was called a submission arm lock, and I was so gassed, and I was just about back then working out, because it was the mentality, you know, the more you can bench press, the more, you know, you are stronger and physically able to push people around, and along with the boxing and that was a good combination. But once Jiu-Jitsu, that took hold, this was something that was really captivating, and I just took it to a whole nother level.
You know, there's 24 hours in the day, but it seemed like for 25 hours he was training. You know, he was researching, training, sparring, just, you know, was in love with it.
Jiu-Jitsu, you know, changed him, you know.
And I saw that it wasn't always about brute strength, that there was a different way to approach it, and that was a totally different experience. The Jiu-Jitsu, I really started to get involved in this because it fascinated me. It was practical, it worked. I started to train in the Jiu-Jitsu. I became the person who was out here, the instructor. I became his top student.
But Jiu-Jitsu wasn't enough to keep Eddie away from the cooler lifestyle.
Worldly side, someone looking in, you've got it made, but there's something missing inside. 1 minute happy because there's some pleasure that happens in my life. Maybe I make some money, maybe I hook up with a certain young lady. Really just, again, marking time.
I know Eddie's presence was very significant in the club. Everybody knew Eddie.
From the outside, people looking in said, hey, this is the man.
When he was dating one of the hottest girls in the city, he decided to get a Harley, a chopper, 430, a nice new Mercedes.
Oh, he's got the nice car. He's got the people who are flocking to be around him. They want to be on that guest list. You're living a dream. But at the end, when you go through this cycle again, it's more corruption. You're around people who are just cutthroat, dirty business people, liars, and I had learned better values from my family.
As the cool became common, Eddie began to have a new sense of life.
We were about 6 months into owning this nightclub together. We were probably drinking 6 nights a week because we were at the bar all the time. So as training went down, the amount of women went up. And Eddie, I think to this day, may look at it God's way of kind of saying, yeah, you're having fun, but this isn't the way you're supposed to be having fun.
All the power he possessed still made him feel helpless. Eddie once beat up his best friend who tried to steal Eddie's girlfriend.
I don't think he felt any better about himself. His ego may have felt better, but his inner soul didn't feel better. His inner soul was broken at that moment. He started to realize that as strong as he is and as intimidating as he is as an individual, it really didn't matter. There was no peace.
The overall entertainment around me, it had me hypnotized until situations got heated, like a big fight we had. One of the guys, a few of them really got hurt. One guy almost died. And next thing you know, at 3 in the morning, the following night, I'm getting knocked on the door. The detectives are there, and I'm in the bullpen and in the county jail, and I'm praying earnestly, oh God, help me. Oh God, help me. Get me out of here. I don't want to be in jail. Everything. Let me just get out and kiss the ground. Nobody wants to be there.
The glamorous life Eddie had been living felt shallow and empty. There was no peace of mind.
Initially when we met, Eddie seemed pretty perfect. The perfect lifestyle. All the women, all the cars. Tough guy, he can do anything he wants to do, runs around with his head up. But as I got to know him, it seemed flawed. There was things missing. His physical being was great for his ego, but it left him empty.
I kept it always real. I said, if I do make $1 million, I'll be the same guy. I might have a bigger house, maybe a nicer car, but what then?
Right near the end, there was just a void.
And I started to look at some of the celebrities' lives, and I would go through talking to some of these people, and man, these people are more depressed than the average Joe.
Feeling lost, Eddie started searching for answers.
I sincerely wanted to know what was my purpose in life.
It didn't take long before Eddie was reminded of death.
One time, from coming after an after party, we had like maybe a half a dozen of us stuck in an elevator. And I started to think about that moment when we were stuck in the elevator. Everybody was just cramped together. And I was like, wow, this is scary.
The incident shook Eddie up.
This was the reality. It was death, and it scared me because I knew that one day I would be in the grave. I would be in the grave. There is no ands, if, buts. No one can differ about this. We can all agree we are going to die. And the entertainment around us is just having us not reflect over this. I started to read books. I was like a sponge. I just kept taking in. Everything I took in, it just required effort. It required sincerity, wanting it first, because if you're not in the market, then that's a different story. It doesn't matter what comes to you, you're not going to be interested. But I was in the market, and I was sincere. And who better to tell me than the one who created me? This life is a test, it's short, and we have to be in a constant state of self-development to develop ourselves to be the best human beings. And I couldn't do it on my own whims and desires, so I started to familiarize myself. I started to look into different religions because I wanted to see, hold on, what about all the religions out there? There's a lot of them. So let me see now, let me have an open mind, let me be non-biased and look into the different ways that are claiming that they're the truth.
I was in Brazil. I was maybe a week from coming home, and I was talking to my brother on the phone. And then he asked me a question on Islam, like, did you read this book?
He wanted to make sure himself and inside his heart that that was the truth.
The more I looked into it, the more I saw that Islam didn't promote terrorism, that Islam didn't oppress women, that Islam was free from all these lies that were just people backbiting the same way they backbite out there against individuals. They were basically talking out of ignorance, not knowing, and then I felt compelled to talk with people.
When my brother first started to learn Islam, he was so enthusiastic.
Eddie has always been stubborn, believing that his way was the right way.
And so I think by him embracing that and understanding it, and by arming himself with all the knowledge he can, he became a very lethal individual in his aspect of his religion.
He did in the beginning, in the weight room, talking really loud and things like that, but we shortly found out after people can be offended, people can have the wrong impression.
He started to talk a lot more about religion, more barriers came up, because I don't think I was there where he was at that moment in time. There were so many things he was struggling with. He was struggling with religion, trying to change his ways, not drinking anymore.
Even after I learned I can't change people's hearts, at least I can share this message and try to clear the negative stereotypes.
People actually started talking behind his back, look at him, he's starting to be a good guy.
It was not as easy as Eddie thought it would be.
I had been reading more and just really thought that if I just share this with the people that I knew, that they would come to the same realization. They would come to the same conclusion, that I came to, that this is indeed the truth. And the more I shared it with people, it would be funny because I'd get silly arguments. People, just out of ignorance, some people, they really wouldn't even, consider it. It was just thinking as they're listening how I can refute this. And giving all the different proofs that I had found, it really, for the people that I was talking to, it wasn't really moving them whatsoever. It had an impact on me. I was depressed because these people they love to listen to me talk about everything else, but when I started to talk about more serious things, hey guys, look, what's the purpose of life? People were just stubbornly resistant, and I started looking at you like you're, from outer space. And then I opened up the Quran, and in Surah 2, verse 6, as I read from the beginning, this is a book where there is no doubt. I realized that I'm not in control of the hearts of the people. It was the one who is the creator, he's in control of the hearts.
It wasn't about forcing people to change.
I did my job, I shared what I knew, this new information. Maybe God Almighty will guide them at a different time. Maybe at one point they'll realize and go through some of the things that I went through to get here.
Eddie's newly acquired knowledge allowed him to see life in a very different way.
Now, the transition didn't happen overnight. It's not like now you find the truth and all of a sudden you're just free from all the different vices that you've had. It was a constant struggle. I gave up drinking right away. I never smoked, but there was other vices that took time for me to get rid of out of my life. When I was in these places, it was funny that I was giving people dawah. I was talking about something, and it was different to be in these places and you see everybody's drunk. Everybody's out of their mind.
So he started less and less going to the club. He'll go to his parties but leave, like be there for an hour and leave. Sometimes he wouldn't even show up and just have me and someone else run it. He kind of wanted to talk to people about Islam, but then he was kind of being a hypocrite because he was in the scene, and I think it forced him more to get out of it.
I didn't give up the prayer. I would hide somewhere to make it. If I couldn't make it in the club, I would walk out of the club and I would go and make it in the car. I did not give up that prayer. That was something that I feel it saved me.
Eddie had stopped drinking at this point. Me and Eddie used to drink a lot. Eddie used to drink maybe more than me. At that point, Eddie had quit drinking. This over a 2-3 month time period. He was praying 5 times a day. He was doing a lot of reading, a lot of studying on Islam.
Giving up the old lifestyle proved to be a real struggle for Eddie, but determined as he was, he quickly adapted to the situation.
Eddie was able to initially separate the two. It was like a switch. He was able to come into Butterfield 8, the nightclub we promoted every Saturday, and be a different person. Maybe he would slip, he would have a drink, but then he would leave, and it was like he would shut the switch off. So now he would go and he would listen to a lot of documentaries, he would go read the Quran, he would pray. It was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and he was struggling with that, but the effort was there. There was a conscious effort to make that switch. Once Eddie and myself parted ways and we stopped doing events together, that's where Eddie was able to separate himself completely from the nightlife, the nightclub environment.
Eddie felt imprisoned by everything that was surrounding him.
I have to get out of this totally. And the more I learned and the more I implemented, the easier it became for me to start to transition, to leave off a lot of the old friends.
I almost did get away from Chicago. He needed to get out. So he came down here, visited. I know one night, his last night here in Windsor, he was staying at the casino. I think it was a conscious effort on his part to try to hit rock bottom. He did things that he pushed himself to the ethical extremes that he could, to do things that to this day I think played an integral role in helping him evolve into the person he is. And I remember seeing him the next day before he left, and there was that emptiness in his eyes. It was a bigger emptiness that I think I've ever really seen in his eyes.
Jiu-Jitsu provided a way out for Eddie.
I want to thank God also for Jiu-Jitsu, because Jiu-Jitsu also helped me to spend more time doing something constructive, something that's fun, and it helped me also to channel some of my energy into something positive. And it's a struggle, like life itself is a struggle. To get better, you have to be more disciplined. To achieve the different belt levels, you have to stay with it. You cannot give up. Working out, you cannot give up. You see the benefits at the end.
The martial arts have a very strong history in etiquette and mannerisms and things that a culture, a way to live that's outside of fighting. You know, like having respect, being humble, things like that. So before we were black belts and before we were practicing Islam, we were like the complete opposite.
When you sign up for a membership at a health club or at Jiu-Jitsu or anywhere, there needs to be some effort. You get excited and now you say, okay, this is what I need in my life. I need to lose weight. And now you get in there and you sign up, but after 2-3 classes, you're just lazy. I mean, you just don't want to continue forward, and now you only hinder yourself. Now you're not going to accomplish that great feeling of feeling good, looking good, being healthy. It's going to require some work. It's the same thing here. It's the same thing with this way of life that the Creator has laid down for all of us to live. It's a way to develop yourself to be a better human being. So you're going to have to sacrifice. You're going to have to be disciplined. There's some things that you might have to give up. But if you are sincere and you earnestly want it, you're going to see that these things weren't even good for me in the first place.
I was talking about, like, these are material things. But if you look a little further out the box, you see this universe and everything in it. That design indicates a designer. We don't like that. We can understand that, but when people, they go and they direct what's supposed to be directed to the Creator, they direct it to someone else. You give me $100? Instead of saying thank you, I say thank you to someone else. So it should be directed to the one who's given you the eyes, the ears, your life. Will give you that one Creator, not to his messengers, saints, idols, icons, to him. Yeah. But of course, if he trained me, I should say thank you. Thank you.
Muslim, I came from the streets to Islam, the ghetto. Now when you see your brother, give a palm, embrace with a hug and greet me with salam, salamu alaikum. I'm a Muslim, I came from the streets to Islam, the ghetto. Now when you see your brother, give a palm, embrace with a hug and greet with salam, salamu alaikum. Certain things I did on road, I hope I never have to look back. The cook crap, the soul for a good rap. The life controlled in my hand as a hood rap. My long shank on my waist, yeah, I would slash. My first strap had my adversary shook back. My first whip, big rims when I pushed that. My first time locked in pen, it would never end. They would release me a roll with fiends thrashing off my pain. Then I end up back again. What's the point, fam? Peace of my life for hitting shoots with a few grams. Peace of my life for moving food to policeman. Peace of my life for pulling moves on the street plan. Back in the meat van, shackled is deep, fam. And the roads are in the prison, how can he stand? I found a Islam like an African digging for diamonds. Show my inner jail, took shahada while I'm riding. I should do a la ilaha illallah, I'm finding. Back to myself, contemplating where my life's been. Wow, it's deep, brother.
Going to a high school to talk to some faculty there and to some students. still waiting for a gift delivery. Everyone is saying no. I get very excited to talk to the non-Muslims, our brothers in humanity. You have three types of brothers. You have your blood brothers, then you have those brothers in humanity. When you hear Islam and you hear something blowing up, you right away attribute, a lot of times people attribute that, oh, this is another Muslim, and now it's another event that's attributed to Islam. So Islam, peace, acquired by submitting your will to the will of the Creator. So you'll be getting, God willing, some of these DVDs, which I have some of the guests that come on, scholars, they come on the show, and we help tackle many of the subjects that are on the minds of the people.
Thank you for coming. Kevin. Nice to meet you.
Are you in the city?
I do live in the city.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, assalamu alaikum, peace be unto you. Welcome to the Deen Show, which is a way of life we try to put out there for everyone to see, helping you understand Islam and Muslims.
When he started the Deen Show, it was just an idea.
I was on my way, I was about to do the fifth pillar of Islam.
I believe he was going to Hajj at the time with my good friend. So they wanted to make sure that they did all the Hajj requirements, you know, that they fulfilled their Hajj.
And there was a lot of different technical things that I had to remember, the ins and outs, what I couldn't do, could do.
So they decided to ask an Islamic scholar random questions and tape it.
And we wanted to make it more interactive, where it wasn't just a person giving a lecture, it was someone that we can interact with and make it fun. And we did that, and from there it turned out great.
And then it spun off to another topic, to another topic.
It actually began with a regular, cheap camera, maybe $400 or $500 camera, and there was one angle, and we'll kind of zoom in. The camera, the tripod would shake, or we would have it in our hands, and I was trying to record, and too much wiggling. And Eddie's concept was he wanted to start a show on Islam and spread it to the non-Muslims.
He just fully wanted to have other people experience what he's going through.
He did kind of was like, well, why are we doing this? No one's gonna take you serious.
But Eddie wasn't going to take no for an answer.
I said with Eddie, once you start something, he goes 100%. So he wanted to do it, so what he did, he didn't want to talk. He took a camera, didn't matter what camera it was, and started recording. Because he knows if you don't start, you're never gonna get nowhere. You know, you have to start somewhere.
It wasn't always that easy. I had to be out there struggling like anybody in any field that they want to grow. I had to be out there putting the work. I had to approach people. People didn't know who I was, and I had to be out there and trying to convince people to be on the show.
When he first started off, when no one didn't know who he was trying to get in contact with some of the bigger sheikhs, and they didn't want to. He was frustrated that some of them didn't want to talk because they weren't sure where the video was going to go.
I had to fly myself to different places to try to get people. I had to, if I met someone who I was going to bring on, I have to pay for them to come out. And it took a lot of work. You know, since 2006 we started, and now we're on the local cable station in Chicago. We're also on another station that reaches Canada and the US, and working to have it in UK on some satellite stations there.
You working out? Okay, just want to make sure you're ready for filming tonight. Yeah. So, God willing, inshallah, I'm going to pick up the shit, and then we're going to go back to the studio and film some shows, inshallah.
How do you choose your guests?
Allah chooses the guests, I just pick them up, brother.
have a lot of people that are just angry. They haven't figured out why they're here in life, nor are they seeking the truth. So they're just bitter. We're not trying to get involved with all the drama. We're trying to live a nice, peaceful life. Yes.
Got randomly selected twice.
We wanted to talk about music a little bit because
It's gonna come along. So
the other one. Where's the other one?
If he's hanging out on the horse, man. Everyone waits for you to respond. Third one is there. Here, no breaks, straight through.
5 minutes,
Prompter,
3
yeah.
minutes, 1 minute.
You'll see the 5 minutes, 3 minutes on the prompter. Okay. You'll see it's red once you start recording.
We also have a guy out here that would tell.
Are you wrapping up, Bill? Did you get the chance to watch the show, brother?
Yeah!
Did it make sense?
Huh?
Did it make sense?
Yeah.
All right.
You're all wrapped up.
You get chicken.
You're all wrapped up. All wrapped up? Yeah.
The website we mentioned to go see some more of the shows that we did.
Your show. Very, very educational. You know? That's why I watch it.
All right, good.
All right, thanks.
Okay.
All right, and I like your setting too.
Oh, thank you.
You improve a lot, you know?
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. You use a lot. Thank you.
Take care of yourself.
Please, all right.
Okay. Alaikum salam.
Yeah.
He's really passionate about what he does, so he's got a 1,000 ideas, you know. So he's taking things, bits and pieces. Every now and then I'll try to put something in his ear, but he's taking this thing by the horns and is writing it out.
When that first episode of that show aired, I think that's when you saw the full formation come into home. This guy's changed. What's going on here?
The Deen Show, combined with his passion for jiu-jitsu, has made Eddie achieve goals he never thought possible. Eddie's purpose with the Deen Show was to enlighten people who might be in a similar condition as he was in the past.
It is good for him to make up for all those times that he missed doing what is right. So, you know, and he probably realizes that. That's why he's working extra hard, you know. So.
Eddie continues his struggle to help people find a way that has been lost to them. For he himself is an example of redemption. He is living proof that if one puts his or her mind to it, they can achieve anything.
If you want to do it and you have a willpower, you can do it. And if you have some support and some guidance, it is possible.
Being part of the biggest family of martial arts with over a few hundred students, having a family, having 3 kids right now, and the Deen Show, man, it's a lot of work. He's a machine, you know.
If someone who knew Eddie in his youth, they would maybe predict that he'd be dead, or he'd be in jail, or he'd be definitely in the negative side of life, you know. But to see someone change, to see that their whole their character changes, to see their these you know, countless changes, positive changes in their life, it's a sign of God.
Allah give us Jannah, Allah give us Jannah. Give Jannah to my mother, give Jannah to my father, give Jannah to my sister, give Jannah to my brother. Allah take us higher, Allah take us higher. Allah save us from the fire, Allah save us from the fire. Have mercy on us, have mercy on us, have mercy on us, have mercy on us on Judgment Day. I bow down, supplicate the world to the best. I need help trying to pass this test. It's hard. I'm standing, I'm waiting in line like the rest until it's my turn to face death. Oh well, Lord, I might be next. This could be my last breath. That's why I take precautions with every single step. I ain't got the time to hang around like the rest. I ain't got time for no gang bandana around the neck. When it rains, I get wet. When it snows, I feel the cold. When it's my time to go, I ain't special, I'ma go. I expect them to know after what they've been told what you're trying to achieve, bro. From that life on the road. It's time.